In this video, we are going to create our corridor. In the previous video, we looked at how to create the assembly. So if you missed that, make sure you check out for that video so that you don't miss out. The corridor is what defines the 3D path of our road. When you create the corridor, Civil 3D is going to pick up this assembly and then it will lay it along the horizontal alignment and the vertical alignment so that it creates a 3D model of our road. So this assembly is what will define the cross section for our road, and then that assembly will be laid along the horizontal and the vertical alignment to form that 3D path, which we shall call the corridor. So let us see how to create the corridor. So in order to create the corridor, go to the Home tab, and then let us go to the Create Design panel. On the Create Design panel, you find there corridor. So when you are there on the corridor, even when you hover the cursor, you can see corridor. Click there, and then click on corridor. So when you click there, you get this dialog for creating the corridor. So first we need to give it the name. So let us call it the roadway corridor. So that's the name you're going to use. Then give it a description if you want, but I'm not going to give it a description. Then the corridor style, let's leave it as basic. We don't have to change this for now. Then, or if you wanted, you can edit that style, but we are not going to go through that. The layer, let's leave it as the default. Then the baseline type. So the baseline type, we can either choose alignment and profile, or we can choose feature line. In this project, we don't have any feature line, so of course we are going to choose alignment and profile. Then the alignment. So the alignment, we are going to use the center line alignment which you created, and that was the roadway alignment. So make sure you're choosing the roadway. Then the profile. So the profile, make sure you choose the design profile, the roadway design profile. This is going to be the profile. So Civil 3D will lay our assembly along the roadway alignment and then the design profile so that we form our corridor. So make sure you've chosen the roadway design profile or the design profile, whichever name you give it, the design profile will create it. Then the assembly. So you have to choose the assembly and choose the assembly that we have created here. So that was the roadway assembly. I don't know which name you gave it, but that is the assembly you've created. So it's the one we are using. And then the target surface. So the target surface currently it's none, but we need to let us set it from here, and this is going to be the existing ground surface. So select the EG surface and then set baseline and region parameters. Make sure you checked that so that we can go to that to set that. So after that, just make sure you click OK. So when you click OK, you're going to get this dialog for setting the baseline and region parameters for our corridor. But for now, I'm not going to change anything from here for now. Let us first go ahead and we click OK, and we see. So when you click OK, it is going to tell you that the corridor condition has been modified and needs to be rebuilt. So make sure you say rebuild corridor. So Civil 3D is going to build our corridor. And yes, here is our corridor. So you can look at it. Let us first review it. Now, in case, of course, it might happen to you for some reason. In case you're building your corridor and you have some errors, the event the event log is going to come and in the panorama window to show you that you have some errors or warnings. Let me just briefly show you that. Okay, let me not. Okay, I'm going to talk about the errors later on. Let's first continue with this. But probably when you're building your corridor, you might see something. This is the event viewer. It might appear to show you something like this, to show you some kind of warnings or errors. But in case you've seen that, just click on this tick and accept that. We shall see later on how we can deal with some of those warnings and errors. So for now, this is our corridor. So what I was saying is that Civil 3D is going to lay our assembly along the horizontal and the vertical alignment to build this 3D shape of our corridor. So this is our corridor. So there are some regions where we are going to have some kind of fill, and then we are going to have regions where we shall have cut. So those are the green and the red regions respectively. So in these red regions, we shall have some kind of cut. In the green regions, we shall have some kind of fill. So basically, this is our corridor. However, something I need to talk about. Let me first. Previously, we created a bus bay somewhere around here. Let me first check it out. Yes, I think it is something here. So let me first highlight it so that you can see it very well. When I highlight this, you can see that this was our bus bay which we created. So meaning our corridor at this point should come and enlarge around here so that it follows the path of the offset alignment that we created. However, when you look at it here, the corridor does not follow the path of the offset alignment that we created. And we need to know what causes this. So in order for you to correct this, you must set what we call corridor targets. So we are going to talk about corridor targets. So in order for you to access and you change the corridor targets, you need first of all access the corridor properties. So you can access the corridor properties by just selecting the corridor. You get a contextual ribbon, and on this ribbon you'll find the corridor properties. Otherwise, if you have not chosen to use that, you can go to the Prospector tab. On the Prospector tab, let us look for corridor. When you expand this corridor, you'll find the name of the corridor that you have created, which is this one. So you can right click on the corridor and then properties. So you will still get there. All right. So once you are in this dialog for the corridor properties, we can see the information here. We can change the name of our corridor, the description. We are interested in the parameters. So make sure you go to the parameters tab. So on the parameters tab, you can modify this corridor using this, or you can also modify your corridor using the contextual ribbon for the corridor. Let me first close this. When you click on the corridor, you can get contextual ribbon for modifying some of the parameters of your corridor just from here. However, we are going to do that from the properties here, from the properties dialog. So when you open this dialog, make sure you're on the parameters tab. So we want to define some of our parameters here. So on the corridor, we have the baseline, which is represented as this, and then we also have a region. So this is the region, and then this is the baseline. So you can choose to add a region. When you right click here, you can add a region, or you can also add the baseline. But in this tutorial, I'm not really going to talk about much of that. Let's just take it as simple as it is. So we are going to set our corridor targets so that our corridor will follow the extents of our offset alignment. So there are different targets, but to set targets in for our corridor, we are going to go to this region here, and you can see here we have targets. So click on these three dots around here. So when you click on those three dots, you'll see the target mapping dialog. However, if you are using an earlier version of Civil 3D earlier than Civil 3D 2024, probably your target mapping dialog is going to be a bit different. Under these targets, we have the offset and elevation targets, and then we have the surface targets. So if you're having an earlier version than Civil 3D 2024, I'm going to show you somehow how you can follow along with this. You can still follow up with this, but let me first show you probably what you would be having. If you're having an earlier version than Civil 3D 2024, probably your target mapping dialog appears something like this, whereby you're going to be having your targets as the surface targets appearing somewhere here, the width and offset targets appearing somewhere there, and then the slope or elevation targets. So basically, they are the same parameters, but just the interface appears a bit different. So you can just keep on following what I'm doing, and you'll be able to set them up. So I'm using the 2024 version, and this is what the target mapping there looks like, but you can still be able to figure out if you're having an earlier version than this. So we have the offset and the elevation targets. Let me first talk about the surface targets. So you can see the surface targets and you'll be able to set them up. So under the surface targets, we have the daylight left, then we have the surface target here. So you need to set the surface targets to the EG, or the existing ground surface. So if you want to change that, you can click there and set it to EG, which is the existing ground. Then the daylight right, also you have to set this to the, make sure it is set to the EG surface. If you have not yet set that, so make sure it is set the target surface, make sure it is the EG surface on both the left and the right. Then we go back to the offset and elevation targets. Then left the outside elevation. So the offset, we have the, we have the offset, and then we have the elevation targets. So in this tutorial, we are only going to talk about the offset targets. We are not going to talk about the elevation targets. So let us change the offset targets. So if you have more than one thing to set and you want to set all of them at once, you can just click here on set all. But we only have one target to set. So the width target, let us change the width target to, so that it matches to our offset alignment. So when you click here, you're going to have to set it from down here. So make sure you come down here. So if you are setting the left, make sure you come and you check out for the left offset alignment. The name of our offset alignment on the left was left, and then the offset, which was 3.8 meters. So it is roadway left on the left. You can even see the side here. So make sure you check that. Or if you don't want to check it from here, there's an option for you to go and you check it from your drawing area. So if you are setting the one on the left, you can come and you set it from here. You just click on it here. Then your selection cycling is on to allow you to select the alignment, and then you just press enter. So you can either click here and you pick it from your drawing area, or it's better you even just check it from here, because we know it is the left and we are setting it to target on the left for the left lane. So this is the width target for our left lane. So just accept that and we go to the lane right. So the lane right, we are going to set the width target for our lane right also to follow the path of the right offset alignment. So click here and then look for the roadway right 3.8. So this is our right hand offset alignment. I remember the naming that we used. However, if you don't remember, you can click here, you go to the drawing area and then you just select it from there. So let's just check it from here. So our shoulders, we are not going to set any targets for our shoulders, both the left and the right. So leave all those at none. Then the elevation targets, we are going to set elevation targets for any of our lanes. So we are not setting the elevation targets. We are only setting the width targets so that it follows our offset alignment. So we have set that, just click OK. So after setting our width targets, so we are going to just, for now, let's just click OK. And then since we have changed the corridor definition, our corridor is out of date and we have to rebuild it. So just click on rebuild corridor and your corridor is going to be rebuilt. So when you come back here, you're going to see that right now our corridor now follows the path of our offset alignment, and we can see our bus bay is now well created here. So your corridor is now going to follow the path of your offset alignment if you have set it as the width target. So that's the importance of setting targets for corridors in Civil 3D. It's a very important aspect. So after setting your targets, the next thing we are going to talk about under corridors, we are going to talk about the frequency. Now you can see that around this corridor, the shape of our corridor doesn't look very nice. Actually, before I set the frequencies, I want us to first view our corridor in the object viewer. So in order for us to view our 3D model of the corridor, just click and select the corridor. On this contextual ribbon, come and select the object viewer. We want to view the 3D model of our corridor. So when you try to move this corridor around, you can see this is the shape of our corridor in the object viewer. You can actually come and change the style from here, from contextual to, let's change it to realistic. You want to see what it looks like. So you can zoom in and observe your corridor from the object viewer. I want to observe. So this is where we are having our bus bay at this position. So you can see it has been built very well. All right, so you can review, you can turn it around, you can pan it around, you can zoom in, you can use this option to zoom in into some region, just like that, and see if this really represents what you intended to create. So close the object viewer. So we are going to set the frequencies. I was saying that the shape of our corridor does not look very pleasant, especially at around curves. You can see here the spacing is too much. So in order for you to make it look smoother than this, you need to increase on the frequencies. So let's go back to the corridor properties, right click on the corridor and then select properties. When you're back in the parameters tab, we are going to set our frequencies. So come and click on these three dots here. So the frequencies along the tangents, we have 20 meters. So you can choose to reduce that a bit. The more you increase the frequency, the more it will look more accurate. However, that will be the more processing speed that the more it will consume more resources on your machine. So let us change this to something like 10. We want to have something that is more accurate. So along curves, let us set it to along curves. Okay, let me just give it something like 5 meters. I'm just setting these values. Then we don't have any spirals in our design. Let's leave it at that. Then the vertical baseline along vertical curves. Along vertical curves, let's make it still something like, let's give it 5. And then the rest, let's just leave them the way they are and then click on OK. So when you do that, you will see that your corridor is now out of date. Whenever you see this sign here, this warning sign, when you hover your cursor there, it will show you that this is now out of date. So you have to rebuild your corridor. So when you click OK, it will tell you to rebuild the corridor. So accept and rebuild. So after rebuilding your corridor, you will see that now we have changed the frequency and now it looks a bit more smoother than it was before. And I think this is better than the way it was before. So we are going to go with this. This looks better. So when you increase the frequency, you increase the accuracy of your corridor. However, that may increase the time it takes to process this corridor. So that could depend on your machine, the machine you're using. But now we can see that it looks a bit better at around curves. So if you want to change more properties, you can always access the properties dialog for the corridor by just clicking here, access the properties, try to change what you want to change. So you can see our horizontal baseline here. So our horizontal baseline is our horizontal alignment. Our vertical baseline is the design profile. So make sure they were set to that. And then I think this is enough for now about corridors. Let's just apply that or just cancel because we've not changed anything. So we can again now view our corridor in the 3D object viewer. You can zoom in to see what you have designed. You can use this to zoom in to a given region. Let me zoom into this part here. So this is our corridor. Now, one thing for you to take note of is that whenever you make some changes, you might see that on your prospector tab, you are seeing some warning here. So this warning shows you that your corridor is out of date. You need to rebuild it. So in order for you to rebuild your corridor, you just have to come here and you right click and then choose rebuild. So whenever you see that your corridor is out of date, you're supposed to come, right click and then choose rebuild. So for now, I want to talk about some errors that you might see when you are dealing with your corridor. So some of the warnings, there are so many causes of errors and some issues with your corridor, especially when it comes to targets. But I'm not going to talk about so much of them, but I just want to talk about just a few of them. So let us see how we can deal with some of the common ones. So my corridor is right now out of date and I'm going to first rebuild it. So I click on rebuild. Now when I rebuild my corridor, I'm having some 2 warnings here. So when you want to view the warning, you can just double click on the warning. When you double click, it will open the event properties and you can actually come and read what is happening. So you can see that at chain edge 2 plus 068.95, so it's saying that intersection with target could not be computed. So you need to go to this chain edge and then you see how to troubleshoot that problem. So you can read more of this information, but let me first close this So I have two warnings here. You can also review this other warning. This is also intersection target could not be computed. So let me first close this event viewer, and then I see what is happening. So chain edge 2 plus 6 something is somewhere around 2 plus 6 8. It is somewhere around here. So I'm having some issue here with my corridor. So let me first review my corridor in the object viewer. So when you view your corridor in the object viewer, you're going to see that somewhere here there is something which does not look right. When it comes here, there is a way it just shoots down to 0 elevation. So the targets here are not set right. So we need to check out and adjust something at this point here. So let's go back and see how to correct that. So probably, normally what causes that, what you've just seen is that when we were creating our profile, there's something I talked about, and I said that when you're creating your design profile, you should ensure that it touches the beginning point, and also you should ensure that it touches the end point at the end. So when you zoom in somewhere here, you can see that somewhere my design profile is not touching the end point. I did this intentionally so that I show you that in case you didn't do that, you would get some error with your corridor. So let us adjust this and we take it back so that it intersects with the end point here. You should make sure that your design profile reaches the end of the alignment, and the alignment ends at this point. So after ensuring that it has reached there, so after making that change, we have now corrected it there. You see that your corridor is now out of date. So if your corridor is out of date, then you have to rebuild your corridor. So come to the corridor, right click, and then rebuild. So you can see that when you rebuild your corridor, now the error has disappeared. It's no longer appearing. If you have more errors that you want to review, you can always come to the Home tab, expand this on the palettes, and then click on the event viewer. So this panorama window will show you the event viewer, and here you have 5 events. So if you are not interested in this, or if you have corrected all these warnings, so this will show you some information, warnings, and then sometimes you can also have errors. If you have reviewed all of them and you want to clear it, you can always clear this. You can choose the action and then you clear all events if you need to. So let me just clear the events because I've corrected all of them. So I have no more warnings. All right, so that is how you can deal with some of the errors. Now, there are many more other errors that you can have, but there are different ways and there are different causes of these errors. So let me first review my corridor, the object viewer again. So you can now see that we have corrected this error that was at the end point here. Now, there are so many errors with corridors, and most of them are connected to the targets. There are so many different causes of them which I cannot discuss at the moment here. Sometimes you can get an error also just because the survey area that was surveyed in the field is smaller than the extent of your corridor. So if your corridor extends beyond the existing ground surface, it means your daylight will not be able to target the existing surface. And if that one occurs, you still get errors. So when you are carrying out your surveying, you should always ensure that you cover all the extents of the road reserve. So you should cover the extents of your road reserve so that it is enough, you gather enough information for you to build your corridor. Otherwise, if the extent of this is the boundary for my existing surface, if it was smaller than the extent of the corridor, my daylight would not be able to target the existing ground surface and I would have issues with my corridor. So this is what we've discussed about corridors. Now there is more to talk about with corridors, but for now, I think this is just good enough for you to get started with your design. So it's just a beginner's tutorial, and this is just enough. In Civil 3D, there are different objects that we can create from our corridor. And one of those objects are surfaces. So we can create a surface from our corridor. So we are going to create a surface from our corridor. So to do that, you can either come here, right click, and you go to the properties, or let me just use this. Let me click on my corridor and then corridor properties. So in my corridor properties, we are going to go to the surfaces. So on the surfaces tab, you are going to click on this so that you create the corridor surface. And then under the data type, let us choose the links. So make sure you've chosen links. And then the code, we're going to set the code. Let us first set it to top. So we can always create as many surfaces as possible. You can go ahead and create more. So in order to create this, to add this data to our surface, you're going to click on this green plus sign. So click there once and it will be added here. So we have created this surface with the data we are basing on the top links. Remember, we talked about these codes. Now the top is going to be the top of the finished grade or the finished pavement. So this is going to be, we are going to create a surface on top of the finished pavement. We are going to create another surface, but before I talk about that, let's first change the name of this surface. So let's call it a roadway. Let me first change this name to, let's call it roadway RW corridor top. So this is the top surface of our corridor. We are going to create another corridor. Maybe we are going to understand that later on. So let's first create another surface. So you can always create as many surfaces as possible. So let's call this one the roadway corridor data. So you're going to see why I'm calling this one the top and then this one the data. So in adding the data, we are still going to specify the data type as links, and then when you the code, let's specify it as the data, and then you click on the green plus sign to add it there. So we have created two surfaces, one at the top of the pavement, on top of the pavement, and then this one, the data. So the data will mean that it is the on top of the say, let me call it the subgrade, like the bottom of our pavement or the top of the subgrade or the finished grade. So this will be the data, and then the top will be on top of the pavement after laying all the asphalt on top of it. So this will be a surface on top of the pavement, and then this will be after the grading or before laying the sub base, before laying the sub base on top of the subgrade. So this will be the data surface, and then this one will be on top of the pavement after laying the surfacing. So you can use each one of them. Each one of them will be used differently. This one, you can use it to compute the earthworks, the data. And then this one, the top, you can also use it to compute the materials of the pavement. So you can add as many surfaces as possible, as much as you want. But for now, I'm just going to create only these two, just to demonstrate what I want. So for now, let's first click on apply, and then we click on OK. So after that, when you come to the Prospector tab and you check under surfaces, you realize that we have now created two more surfaces. Previously, we had only the EG surface. Now we have created the roadway corridor datum and then the roadway corridor top. So when you come here, you see that we have created our surfaces. But like I said this somewhere earlier, you can see that our surfaces are extending beyond the extent of our corridor. Let's first review these surfaces in the object viewer. Let me first turn off the display of the EG surface. Let me go to surface properties. I want to turn the style to no display. Let me first click OK. So I've turned off the EG surface. So right now, let me select this surface, one of these surfaces. So there are two surfaces, but let me just select any of them. It's all right. And go to the object viewer. You can see that our surface is not moving as our corridor is. It is extending way beyond our corridor. Let's first close the object viewer. So we want to define the boundary of this corridor surface, but we are not going to do it by just deleting it, deleting some lines like maybe we did before. There's an easier way of achieving it. So in order for us to define the boundary of our corridor surface, we can do that by accessing the corridor properties. Right click on the corridor, go to the corridor properties, and we are going to go to the boundaries. So we have two surfaces here. Let us define the boundary for this one. Just right click on it and then set corridor extent as the outer boundary. There are more other options, but let's use this first one for now. So when you do that, we shall have defined the boundary for this corridor surface. Let us also do the same for this one. We use the corridor extents as the outer boundary, and then we click on OK. When you do that, you will have to rebuild your corridor. So rebuild the corridor. So after rebuilding the corridor, you will see that now your corridor surface boundaries have been defined as the extents of the boundary. So your surface will move, your outer boundary of the surface will move on the edges of the corridor extents. So when you go back to the object viewer, I want to select the corridor surface. Let me select it just from here. So you can come here, right click, I'm selecting the datum surface, and then you select. After selecting it, it will be selected, and then you can come to the object viewer. So right now, when you come to the object viewer, you will see that our surface has been built correctly. Let me change this to conceptual. So you can see that our surface has been built correctly following the extents of the corridor. So you can review this and this, check out if it is really what you intended to design. So this is our surface, the datum surface. You can come here, review it properly, and if you have reviewed it, close the object viewer. So we have successfully created our corridor. We have created two surfaces, one about at the datum and then one on the top. So let me turn off the display of this. So let me change this style to no display. I don't want it to display. Let me also do the same for the top. Right click surface properties and change the display, the style to no display. Right. So whenever you see anyone in here that are showing you that it is out of date, you can always come right click and then you rebuild. It can happen on any object here, a surface, a corridor, or whatsoever. You can always come and you rebuild it so that it's not out of date. All right. One other thing that I would like us to look at before we leave this section of corridors is that I want us to use the drive command so that we drive on our corridor. So to use the drive command, go to the Analyze tab, and on the Analyze tab, under Design, you're going to find something like Drive. So click on Drive. So when you click on drive, on the command line, Civil 3D is going to prompt you to select an alignment, profile, feature line, or survey figure, something that you're going to use as a drive path, or press enter to select from a list. So you're going to go ahead and press enter so that you select from a list. So when you press enter, you're going to get this dialog to select a path. So select the object to use as to drive along. So you can check out here. You can use an alignment, you can use a corridor feature line, you can use a survey figure, you can use a feature line or 3D polygon. So in our case, we are going to use an alignment. So when you select alignment, our alignment that we are going to use our center line alignment, which you called roadway. So this is the alignment you're going to use. Then the available path. So we are going to select a profile from here, and then we can choose either the existing ground or the design profile. So make sure you select our roadway, the design profile that we created. Don't select the existing surface. So select the roadway design profile and then click on OK. So after that, we are going to get this. Civil 3D is going to take us to this drive mode view. And then around here, we can set the speed at which you want to drive at. So my design speed was 50, so we can type there 50 so that we drive at a speed of 50. You can also change the visual style. There are different styles that you can choose from. So when you select on that drop down, you have different visual styles, but I'm not going to change that. And then let us leave the rest the way they are, and then just click on pause or play. So when you click there, you're going to be able to drive on our corridor. And then this is important because it can help you to visualize, check out for some errors that might have come along. So you can be able to visualize your corridor as you're driving on it. You can continue to view this, and when you are done, we are going to click here and we close. So you can visualize areas where we are going to fill, areas where we're going to cut, and then the daylight. You can see all that. You can pause it and you play again. And when you are done, just come here and you close. So that's how we can drive on our corridor in Civil 3D. In this video, we have successfully created our corridor, set its targets, and we have also created the surface. We have created corridor surfaces for our corridor. In the next video, we shall see how to create cross sections. So if you have found this helpful, make sure you subscribe, like, and also share to your friends so that they also don't miss out. Thank you for watching.